We'd like to preface this episode with a trigger warning. Keywords include abortion, miscarriage, pregnancy, abuse, fetal loss, fetal demise, and other topics of that nature. As always, this is a safe space. We would like to provide you the space and knowledge that you are not alone. We have references below. Also, please feel free to reach out to us personally. You will be welcomed with an open heart, open minds, open ears. Also, if you disagree with anything that is said on this podcast today, please feel free to reach out as well. We are open to respectful conversations.
Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome back to Geneva Between the Lines, literature and lifestyle for leisure. Long time no talk. Missed you all. I hope you guys are following Memory Lane Morning Show. We've been a little bit more frequent of posters on that end, but it is so good to be back. And despite a very sensitive and solemn subject that we are about to tackle in a 1 to 2 to 20 part series, I don't think I've ever been more delighted to have a guest on the podcast. So without further ado, her first sounds on the pod is just crying, but may I welcome my freaking lady, Miss Shelby Louise. Oh no. Shelby Louise Stavness.
Oh, she loves
Welcome. Hello. My first main guest.
Well, we are them transplants, aren't we?
We are them freaking transplants. Are you excited?
Yeah, I have never been more obsessed with you.
Really?
Look at you're so cute.
Don't do this. Not here. Oh, God. So, Shelby and I have known each other since...
For about 5 minutes.
Yeah, probably since like last October. And it was just a whirlwind of like, hey, nice to meet you.
Hey, come over to my house and meet my dog and move in with me.
Yeah. Needless to say. Well, I think I might leave it to you. I know people think it's awkward sometimes to have, like, say, oh, tell me about yourself. But I would like you to tell the pod and the listeners a little bit about yourself and what's up with you, what you do, and what the frick makes you, you know?
I guess.
Do it.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm Shelby, and I am also a nurse, like our lovely Janine. Probably half the nurse she is.
Jesus.
Like my idol in every way. We met through clinical instructing. We are both Janine is a graduate.
Ooh.
Congratulations, honey.
Yes.
I am really bad at talking about myself. So let me just kind of start from the beginning.
Sounds
I was
good.
born in... No, I'm kidding.
My parents met.
I'm from California. Me and my husband drove over here in 2019 after I graduated nursing school. Hoorah. Shout out to CSUSM class ABSN 28. That's the only time I'll ever say that. And then we kind of just made this place our home, kind of grew where we were transplanted. So I work in women's health, maternity, most recently specifically postpartum.
Mm-hmm.
Just started up with Maine Mother and Company, which is postpartum nursing after discharge, similar to postpartum doula. Yeah, so shout out to them. I actually can't even say that because I haven't started yet. But yeah, I don't know, Janine. What else do you want me to say?
She's freaking sick. I'm sick. I think you did great.
Okay.
What is your favorite part about your profession and what you do?
Oh, my favorite part. So when I was in labor, my favorite part was, this sounds so cheesy, but like the look on the partner's face when the baby's born, because there's such a range of emotion. Like, okay, we're going to be talking about vaginas, so I'm just going to like throw it out there. I'd say like the reaction spans from like vomit to like pure joy, tears.
And you get to see it like in slow-mo.
Yeah, it's really good. With postpartum, as much fun as it is bringing a new member of the family into the world, the education piece is probably my favorite just because it is so stressful. I feel like I can bring something to the table for them. Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, just watching them learn their baby. And yeah,
we share that. That's why we're both educators. Yeah. Shelby's in school right now too, and she's freaking fast laning it to graduation probably.
Yeah, I graduate in December.
Yeah.
I can't believe that.
And we're just gonna freaking take Maine by storm wherever the heck we work. Vulgar gesture.
Insert here.
Oh my god. So, you know, these past 2 years have been life-changing, to say the least. And, you know, the last episode that I had with, I could be wrong, with a guest on this podcast was with one of my best friends, Abby. And that one was, we talked about the Stop Asian Hate movement and the violence that people were going through and some of the experiences she had in New Jersey. And it was a really sobering podcast. And I feel like ever since COVID started and ever since, oh my God, I feel like there's just too much that has been going on. So if you guys listened to the last podcast on the Really Morning Show, we mentioned that this would be the outlet for the episode regarding the overturning of Roe v. Wade, which was not something that we could shorthand on the other channel. And I thought that Shelby, with her background and both of our passions, would be the perfect guest to bring on and just have an open kind of conversation and forum and just be able to fully express with someone the anger and emotion and the thoughts and feelings that we as women have been feeling for the past 5 days. June 24th. That's the day that it happened.
Friday. Yeah.
Friday. And we've already got a lot of things off of our chest, but I think it's crucial to be able to have something and to be able to share this with people, either who are knowledgeable or people that aren't, and to share with people in our lives and our, you know, the people that we're surrounded by, because not everyone is as informed. And while people may not share our opinions or our thought processes, I think it's important that we do this episode. So that's what this episode's going to be about. If you guys are down to listen and down to hear us freaking scream, just keep on listening. And if you have any thoughts, we will be posting a poll later on today. And we'd like you guys in the beginning and the end of the episode. So if you guys are stoked to listen, just keep on listening. Thank you for your support and stay tuned. So as mentioned earlier, we'll leave our resources used and any links and articles related to the podcast in the description below. But we just wanted to start out to give a brief description of Roe v. Wade before we got into what has transpired these past few days. So Roe v. Wade in 1973, that was the year that there was the landmark ruling that legalized abortion nationwide. And kind of leading up to that, so dating as late as like the 1800s or so, abortion was illegal. The American Medical Association kind of called for the criminalization of abortion, and the Catholic Church played a part in that, banning abortion at any stage in pregnancy. And around the 1880s or so, that's when abortion was mostly outlawed across the whole country. And it wasn't until about the 1960s, during the women's rights movement, is when the groundwork for Roe v. Wade was laid down. So yeah, it wasn't until 1973 that they officially ruled that abortions were illegal across the country, which I feel like it's important. Shelby, can you give like a solid definition as to what abortion is?
Absolutely, I can. Ultimately, an abortion is when a pregnancy is ended. Mm-hmm. It is ended so that it doesn't result in a child. Mm-hmm. It's often called the termination of a pregnancy. Mm-hmm. So there are a few options when it comes to abortion. Mm-hmm. A medical abortion or a surgical abortion. And the timeline for these are different. We can get into that later. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Do you have, I feel like that leads into my next question in regards to the complex definition of what can be considered a viable pregnancy. What exactly is considered viability of a pregnancy, or should I say of a embryo, fetus?
Those are all great words.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I had to have a women's health professional, because my specialty is adults. Needed to bring on the big guns.
I hear you. And, you know, this is kind of the topic of the day, of the week, really, mm-hmm. because viability is essentially when the fetus mm-hmm. is viable, when it is compatible with life. Mm-hmm. So before we even go into viability, mm-hmm. I want to say that when focusing on viability in abortion care, we are moving the focus away from the mother to the fetus. So if it was about babies, our healthcare system would be very different. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when we focus on viability, it's no longer about what's best for mom, mm-hmm. but what's best for baby. So instead of talking about viability in terms of the fetus, mm-hmm. I would like to talk about the timeline when and if an abortion and what type of abortion is preferred. Is that okay?
Yeah, do it.
Because I think that regardless of how I define viability, mm-hmm. there's going to be a discrepancy. Mm-hmm. So that being said, a medical abortion, aka the abortion pill, mm-hmm. Is usually around 10 to 24 weeks.
Okay.
So this is where things get a little spotty, because the 22 to 26 week mark is usually where people start to feel that the fetus can be compatible with life. Mm. Okay. That being said, surgical abortion is from 15 to 24 weeks. And again, it really just depends on what resources you're looking at. Late abortions are a thing as well. And, you know, that's where we really explore what we view as morality. Because a lot of people say that, you know, you're a baby killer. You're a baby killer. And, you know, that is based on a specific person or mindset of what morality is. Because if you're thinking of abortion as killing babies, then yeah, that's pretty morally wrong. But if you're thinking of abortion as the removal of cells from a person, like you would an appendix or a tumor, you're thinking of healthcare. Not to say babies are tumors, and not to say that you could not have that baby, but you do not have to.
Yeah. I'd like to rewind back to the statement that you said, and I will say that a lot of the exposure and news that I consume on the subject has been, I'd say, like 73% through social media outlets, which can or cannot be beneficial to anyone out there. So I am pretty wary of the things that I consume and kind of read up on. But one of the tweets that I saw just states this: if this was about babies, there would be universal health care, free education, free daycare. Southern states would be doing all they can to drop the Black maternal mortality rate. It's not about that. This is about power and control. When you first got the news, where were you and what was your immediate reaction?
So first of all, I'm just so sad that we are having this conversation to begin with. But I actually had just woken up from night shift sleep in the day and was getting ready to head to the AWON convention, the Association of Women and Newborns Nursing, in Colorado. My immediate reaction was just like utter shock. But like, as a brave person at the convention said, like, none of us should have been surprised. Like, some brave soldier, I shouldn't say soldier, but some brave human leaked the Supreme Court's plan to do this. From that moment, we should have just started preparing way more than we did.
Dang. How long ago was that?
When did the leak happen? I'll have to look. I'll look it up at our next break. But yeah, so we knew that this was a very large possibility, especially after Trump's candidates and placements in the Supreme Court and his stance on abortion. So yeah, I was very, very surprised. How about you, Jay?
I was at work when I found out. I think I got ready, wasn't really looking at my phone, and I immediately felt just my stomach drop, and I almost felt just queasy because there are so many aspects of our day-to-day lives these days and our government and our just lifestyles that I feel like have been going backwards. And it just...
Absolutely.
It feels hurtful that something like this that we as women and as a country have fought so hard for could be overturned just I mean, I'm sure it took them a while, but just at the fate of our Supreme Court and at their discretion with no real, like, not to say no real motives behind it, but for no, like, in my opinion, absolute logical and medical reasoning to it.
We really kind of have crossed a huge line when it comes to the separation of church and state. In multiple areas. I do believe that this is definitely fueled from a religious perspective. But yeah, I totally agree with you. And like, I look at all my fellow women and all my fellow nurses and the patients that we treat, and I just have such a severe sadness. And I know, no one person is responsible. Well, that could be debated, but, it's like, I feel like we failed people. We failed people with uteruses. Uteri. And I say people because not just women are affected by this abortion ban. Any person with a uterus can have an abortion. That includes the full gender spectrum.
I don't think I've ever been as sad as I was a couple days ago in a very long time. Like, I feel like the whole, 2 days after the news, I was just a solemn, just stern, straight-faced person for a couple days.
Right.
Like, there wasn't a lot of joy that was happening during those past few days. And are we going through a grieving process? I think I'm still processing.
Absolutely. And Jay, I just want to speak on that a little bit. I don't feel like any of us have fully absorbed what this is going to look like for your personal needs, for your family, friends' needs. And in regard to your statement about the grieving process, we got to stick together right now. We need to be there for each other to grieve. And I 100% agree that we are going through a grieving process. This is a loss. And as you know, bereavement is not linear. I think our immediate reaction of silence, well, not silence, but I think our immediate reaction of just utter loss and then straight anger across the nation.
Yes.
Really kind of speaks to that grieving process. 100% agree with you.
It's a lot.
I know. And I just want to say a few things about who gets abortions, if you're open to that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So every type of person can and has had an abortion. Recent statistics show that at least 1 in 4 women have had a reported abortion before the age of 45. That's at least 25% of women presenting individuals in the U.S. Almost 60% of these women have already had a child. That's pretty interesting, right? Yeah. Married women have children. Married women have abortions. Single women have abortions. Black women have abortions. White women have abortions. There is no specific type of person that has an abortion. 85% of abortion patients are in their 20s and 30s. There's this kind of general idea that abortions are only for teenagers and only for, people that hate themselves or
had, an accident.
Yes. And that's the thing is nobody gets to decide why you have an abortion. Nobody gets to decide that for you but you. And I guess apparently our government. So there's that. Yeah.
They're a very important part of our bodies these days.
Yes. And I'd also like to say something super important, Jay. And there was a statement that I saw on TV that a white woman Republican stated that women should control their intake of semen.
Yeah. I have that pulled up.
Please read it because
here
this was hilarious and
God,
just so demoralizing for...
I'm going to read the whole thing.
Please do.
I got a text message today saying I should seek to control men's ejaculations and not women's pregnancies. The woman that stated this, her name, she's a Utah representative, Carrie Ann Lisenby. She then said, and my response is, I do trust women enough to control when they allow a man to ejaculate inside of them and to control that intake of semen. So that may be inflammatory. But I think as a legislator, we have the responsibility to create a legal framework that is friendly and supporting rights.
I also love this new trend of like people saying it's like their religious duty on earth to like help these women raise these babies. Like, now's your chance. Honey, you've had that chance. Look around you. Look
exactly.
around you. This doesn't change anything for well, it changes things, but like if you were looking for an opportunity to care for women presenting people and their children, y'all have already had that.
You think you're so empowered to do it now because this has been stripped away from us?
Get out of here with your white savior complex.
It's disgusting. That's so funny. I saw another tweet like that was on kind of that thought process, and it was like, are you people ready? I'm going to read it.
Okay. I'm ready to hear it.
Yeah, I think you might be familiar with this one. 1 second.
While you're pulling that up, I just want to throw a fact out there. Over 60% of people that have had abortions are of some sort of religious affiliation.
That's interesting.
You want to know why? Because abortion is healthcare.
Yeah. And listen to this. You ready? Now comes the great privilege and opportunity of showing the love of Jesus to broken women who find themselves pregnant with an unplanned baby. Will you rise to the task, people of God? Will you mentor, help them pay their rent, find them jobs, host their baby showers?
There have been a few people close in my circle that have posted this, and I first of all, it fills me with utter rage and sadness that someone can have such a narrow mindset. But just to kind of follow up on this, over half of people that have abortions had been using birth control. So yes, maybe unplanned. However, it's none of your freaking business.
And these people that are saying, yes, totally, we're here for God, we're here for these babies. Please tell me exactly what you've been doing to preserve and help lives in your daily activities, and what you how you show that support now. Please tell me, are you helping any orphanages and the broken foster care system? Are you helping out those children? We already have a homeless epidemic. What are you helping with? Do those lives matter to you?
See, that's the thing. And, another thing that's been circulating that kind of like really hit home for me was like, you only care about that baby until it's born a woman, born of color, born addicted.
Yeah.
That's old language, but, that was just in the post that I saw. And I think Jay, I think that we should maybe talk about, I know you wanted to talk about how social media kind of influences people's opinions, kind of fuels the fire. So take it away.
Yeah.
I want to hear you like rage on this.
I mean, this is one of the instances that I feel... Actually, I'm not sure how I feel about it yet, but I'm leaning more towards positivity in this sense. When things circulate on social media and there's a uproar about certain subjects like Black Lives Matter and Stop Asian Hate and things of that nature, usually what I find is that it goes through somewhat of like a bell curve of publicity and kind of like, what am I trying to say here? Like, you know, it gets all the hype for how many days and then eventually it dissipates and then, you know, it falls under the wayside. Kind of like how our mass shootings have been, right? Like you get a shock factor. Everyone talks about it for about a week or so. And then everyone, it drops off and then it kind of just becomes normalized. It's like, oh, another mass shooting in the United States. That's not shocking. We've had over 200 in the past year. So that's such a scary notion to me. But I feel like, I don't know why, but this feels different to me.
This feels different because...
I guess it feels different because I feel...
I'm not questioning you. I guess I just want you to like elaborate on
why.
What you're feeling is different.
I think it feels different because it feels personal to me.
Yeah.
Very personal. Personal in the sense that, you know, it is healthcare and we are healthcare providers.
And you identify as a woman.
And I identify as a woman. And I identify as a woman who, one, I am not ready to have a child, though I would want one in the future. But also, my listeners know this about me. I am also someone who, if I were to even consider having a child, those steps would be very complicated for me. And it is very likely for me with my chronic illnesses, it is very likely that if things do not go as planned, I would need an abortion to save my life. And I wouldn't think twice about it because I am at risk for, I'm categorized as, if I were pregnant, a high-risk pregnancy. And in order to keep me alive, I would be someone that would have to undergo an abortion because of my risk for ectopic pregnancies. So just the thought of maybe if I were living in Tennessee still, if I were still living in Florida, can you imagine if that right was stripped because they think that the cells that were inside me were more important than the living, breathing heart that were sitting right here asking to save my life, and doctors who can't even make the decision to save my life because their licenses would be revoked. And the thought of pregnancy is already scary for me. And the repercussions that we would have, even if Maine is a state that's still allowing it, we don't know how that's going to play out in terms of, you know, how it will affect healthcare in our state now. Because even though it's legal here, that doesn't mean it's not going to affect how women's and reproductive health will change worldwide. It's going to be a huge change. And it's scary. It makes me not really want to have kids. It's difficult. And it really makes me sad, and I don't like it. You know,
you're brave, and I just want to just say thank you for sharing that, because I think it's important that both sides of the story are shown here. It kind of brings up something that's been floating around on the internet as well. Wanderlex on Instagram. Look below. She's awesome. She posted about this story of a woman who found out that her child was not going to be able to sustain life once born. Had a scheduled induction. Scheduled induction means essentially giving you medication to expel the cells in your uterus. Induction was scheduled. Roe versus Wade was overturned, and she was no longer allowed to have said induction. So she either had to wait for her child to die or take it to term and then watch it die.
Can you imagine the trauma?
So this woman talked about how she could feel her baby having seizures in her belly. She could feel this viable child unable to control their seizures. Like, what is she? First of all, how helpless would she feel? Like, her and her baby just suffering. Why? Tell me why.
Tell me, anyone out there, tell us why.
Reason.
That's just so upsetting. And do you think that these hero complex warriors want to provide therapy for these women going through?
Yeah, no, not to mention how expensive having a child is if you're uninsured.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I saw a statistic, like without insurance, it's at least like $15,000 to $20,000.
Yeah, and that's if everything goes right.
Exactly. That doesn't include any of the prep work, getting your freaking house ready, and
and also I just want to say, like, that woman and her child. I'm referring to her pregnancy as a child because that's what she wanted. She wanted to continue to grow those cells to be a child. If she somehow like hears this or is impacted by this, I just want her to have a feeling of support and love and sorrow from us and from every person that has been made aware of her case, because it's unfortunately viral. I feel so sad for her, but I also feel like she made the conscious effort to let her story be known, and that's important.
Yeah, it's beautiful and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Do you think that the Christians in support of overturning Roe v. Wade feel grief for her baby and the loss of her child?
I would like to think so.
You think so?
I would like to. At this convention I just went to, we had a wonderful speaker. Her name's Rose, and she said when you're approaching topics that are sensitive, one thing that you can do to keep the peace, approach the conversation, is assume good intent. And I think that really kind of goes a long way, because right now we are an absolute divided country.
Yes.
And you know, I feel like it kind of continues from like the pandemic. So much division, and somehow political and religious. I don't want to talk about that, but yeah, I'd like to think that they would have sorrow for that woman and her child. But I also hope that they are feeling the repercussions of their actions.
It's absolutely terrible.
Yeah. I also kind of want to continue that topic. If a person is religious, I want you to know, I hope that you know that you will be welcomed into the arms of anyone who is pro-choice.
Yes.
If you need an abortion and you are afraid to say it because you are religious, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one beautiful thing that I love about nursing is that we took an oath. Mm-hmm. And our patients' autonomy and safety are some of our top goals. Mm-hmm. Some of the things that we live by. And that is a hill I will freaking die on, Jay.
And just be deceased
you
on.
You have a choice.
And you know what's so funny is, which this is a bigger subject in itself, but can we just take a moment for the exclusivity that people feel in religious communities? I think
say some more on that.
Yeah, so I was brought up Catholic. Shelby,
I was brought up Catholic light.
Yeah. Diet Catholic.
Lutheran.
But we both have like religious backgrounds. But can you agree with me on the fact that, I guess since we're on the topic of abortions, we were never educated on things regarding sex, love, anything taboo, I should say. And I would argue to say most men and women that grew up in religious communities had somewhat of a, like, don't do this or you are not a holy person mindset.
You're going to go to hell.
Or you're going to go to hell. Yes. Yeah. Or don't do this or you're not a part of our religious community. There were just so many of these sets and rules. I think you said like 60% of people who did get abortions were religious, something like that, in your statistics that you brought up.
Let me go back to it.
Yeah, what was that number again?
62% of people who have had abortions report religious affiliation.
Oh, cool. See? And it's funny because I have a few coworkers who are very adamant on the fact that, well, abortion is the number one thing you can't do as a Catholic.
It's really unfortunate, and I hope that they know that they're wrong, and 24% of abortions are of those that identify as Catholic.
Yeah. So it's very interesting to me that they decide, or that their mindset sits where it does. And I feel like a lot of it just coming from there's so much shame and there's so much like kind of fear out of their own communities that leads them to this place of, not wanting to seek help. And it's just scary. And not even just with abortions. It's just even about like sex, yeah. Like anything that is considered wrong.
I feel like
communities.
You nailed it. You absolutely hit it. Shame, guilt, just the general idea of abstinence. So to answer your question, I can absolutely validate you in being raised up in a religious family and not really ever approaching the idea that sex is outside of marriage. Yeah, basically, you have sex before marriage and you're going to hell. I feel like we could talk about religion for our entire day. I really do.
You're right.
Because, Kevin, me, you, well, I'll speak for me and Kevin, but we are both just, kind of removed from the religious aspect of both of our families. And, it looks different for every single person.
It does.
But that doesn't take away from the fact that abortion is healthcare. Abortion is safe. Abortion is effective. It's not murder.
Yes.
It is not abuse. It's quite literally the removal of cells. And I know that this is a controversial topic, but I have to say it. These treatments are the exact same whether or not the fetus is alive. So when people say it, abortion is the same, or, you know, you have an abortion for a miscarriage, I think that there is truth in that. And it's not that you're removing a baby in either case. So I think that is how you need to think about it. You're removing cells from a woman.
Yeah.
And from I Will Die on This Hill, Jay, it's about women. It's about women. Well, I should say it's about people with uterus. With uteri.
With uteri.
It's not about babies.
Yeah.
It's not about babies.
That logic needs to end. Before we go on break, I did want to talk about what we were saying to kind of like tie up, maybe somewhat tie up, we might circle back to it, the religious aspect. But you were telling me earlier about the power of and. Oh, yes. I want to say a sentence, and I wonder if this was kind of the, if this is a correct like statement in that idea. So in talking about Christians and Catholics and our upbringing, because yes, I do have a lot of family that are still practicing. And I believe you can be a practicing Christian or Catholic and still support being able to make a choice and being able to have control over your body.
Woo!
Right? Is that kind of like the idea?
The person I was talking about earlier, her name is Rose. She spoke on an ally versus accomplice, and how accomplice has somewhat of a negative connotation. But when you think of ally, you think of someone that supports you, right? When you think of an accomplice, you think of someone that's in the shit with you.
Yes.
Right?
I do.
You are called to action. And usually an accomplice is in the form of helping with a crime or helping with something that is morally wrong. And Rose brought this up. What defines morally wrong? And how do your morals fit into my life? How do my morals fit into your life? And at what point, you know, like, where do you draw that line? And so she talked about this book called Life's Messy, Be Happy. Do you want to look up who that's by?
Yeah, let me look it up.
And how there is this power of and. So, yeah, I think that, like, with good intention and assuming good intention, you can incorporate your views in with someone else's views, and there doesn't always have to be an either or answer.
Yes.
So yeah, I think we're ultimately on the same page there. Yeah, you can be a women reproductive abortion advocate, and you can also believe in whatever God you want.
Yes.
Gods.
Whichever script of the Bible that you're reading from, whichever text.
The Medusa Loki.
The Medusa Loki scribes.
We gather on Wednesday evenings.
And we serve treats. Dried chicken.
Sacrifice the chicken.
That book is by Cy Wakeman.
Okay. Yeah, Cy
Just
Wakeman.
in case anyone wanted to pick that up. But yeah, I think
it was called Life's Messy, Be Happy.
Be Happy. Yeah. And I think you hit it right on the head that there's so much. We're too freaking advanced for this, man. We are in a day and age where you just got to get with the times, man. People can love who they want to love, have children if they want to have children. Everyone deserves agency over their own morals and their own beliefs and their own rights and their own bodies, regardless of your opinion of them. And it's such a weird idea that the government wants to be in control of that. Like, what are
I used to think everything was run by capitalism, like kind of the running joke in me and Kalla's life.
Yeah.
It all comes down to capitalism. And you know what? I don't think that they knew what they were getting into because y'all, birth is expensive.
Yeah.
Not to mention, the government recently voted against assistance with formula.
Oh,
and
my God.
That was really poor planning, y'all. When we come back from break, I there's a few things I 100% need us to touch on. And that is how this is going to impact minorities, specifically Black and brown women. Let's also talk about individual state trigger laws. What else? What else do you want to talk about? I think we should talk about how we can be involved.
Yes.
What you can do.
Yes. I think that just ways to be an active participant and accomplice and ally to women. And I think equally important is, hey, if you have a penis, let's do something about it. What's going on there? What's going on in your heads, guys? So
your silence, it's speaking for itself.
Yeah. I've never heard you more quiet. So let's start to hear some speaking out. But we'll be back in about 5, and stay tuned for another some more talk about the old Roe v. Wade overturning. Welcome back. We've got a special guest here.
Ellie.
She's got
A puppy belly. Woof woof.
We'll post videos. But welcome back. We're going to pick back up right where we left off.
Nice.
And do you know what I want to show you?
What?
To kind of resume our conversation. It was a pretty powerful quote I saw via Instagram.
I'm ready.
Related to the topic we're about to get into, which includes the impact that this overturning will have on minorities and the LGBTQI plus population. So it starts as this. Every time the abortion discussion pops up, I like to point out this quote by Dave Barnhart, a traditional Christian pastor. The unborn are a convenient group of people to advocate for. They never make demands of you. They are morally uncomplicated, unlike the incarcerated, addicted, or chronically poor. They don't resent your condescension or complain that you are not politically correct. Unlike widows, they don't ask you to question patriarchy. Unlike orphans, they don't need money, education, or childcare. Unlike aliens, they don't bring all the cultural, racial, and religious baggage that you tend to dislike. They allow you to feel good about yourself without any work at creating or maintaining relationships. And when they are born, you can forget about them because they cease to be unborn. It's almost as if by being born, they have died to you. You can love the unborn and advocate for them without substantially challenging your own wealth, power, or privilege, without reimagining social structures, apologies, or making reparations to anyone. They are, in short, the perfect people to love if you want to claim you love Jesus, but actually dislike people who breathe and are different from you. Prisoners, immigrants, the sick, the poor, widows, orphans, all the groups that are specifically mentioned in the Bible, they all get thrown under the bus for the unborn.
Wow.
Pretty good one, eh?
I am actually speechless.
Doesn't that encompass the power of and? Kind of like
a little bit, yeah.
Recognition that, you know, this is a Christian pastor who's making that statement, but also he recognizes that this is more of a complex issue than just the consideration that pregnancies or there shouldn't be any abortions, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, this is exactly it. You can be religious and you can also believe in reproductive rights.
Exactly.
That's wow, that was an awesome quote. Who did you say that was by?
It was by let me look at the name again. One of my like influencers on Instagram, Lauren Curtis, posted it, but the quote itself was from Dave Barnhart. So shout out to you, Dave Barnhart, whoever you are. Oh god.
You and me, we're soup snakes.
I know.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That kind of like really hits home on what I was going to bring up. Again, I am just like obsessed with Rose, who was speaking at the A1 convention. This is also just my interpretation of what she was saying, but one of the things that she said that kind of really stuck with me is metacognition. And this is thinking about your thinking. So like, if you're a white person in America, we all have some sort of racial bias in our body because that's America. But your ability to change your thought process starts with metacognition. So thinking about the way you're thinking and why you're thinking that way. Does that make sense? Cool. So that kind of leads into people getting defensive. And so why are you defensive when someone says to you, well, the white male is that at the core of the problem? This is kind of a look into white fragility. And Rose spoke on fragility as essentially like not getting butthurt or upset when someone calls you out and making it about you. It's not about you. And I think that the focus of how abortion is going to impact minorities, it's a huge focus on this is not about you. So we need to believe women. We need to believe people with their stories, people with uterus, everybody, really. But at the core of it, to have empathy, you need to believe people and their stories. And so Rose talks about how if you say less and you listen more, you're able to recognize your own bias. Okay. So you don't have to agree with someone to respect them. And I think that that kind of leads into how we were saying earlier, morality looks different for every person.
Yep.
So when we think about the abortion ban and how it's going to directly impact minorities, I'm combining two of our topics here, but I'm going to bring up the amicus from all of our medical governing bodies, basically. An amicus is basically a rebuttal, a piece of advice. What's the exact definition of amicus? I think it's like what we think, and this is why.
An amicus is an impartial advisor, often voluntary, to a court of law in a particular case. Okay,
so many of our governing medical bodies, such as ACOG, A1, family physician, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like the list is literally like every association I have ever seen.
Yes. Anyone that we deem credible has spoken on this.
Credible, reliable sources. So when they posted their rebuttal or their amicus, one of the topics was how this ban is going to hurt rural, minority, and poor patients the most.
Tell me.
So the ban will disproportionately impact these people including people of color, people living in rural areas, and those that have limited economic resources. And this is because overall, generally, the people that are looking to have an abortion are below the poverty line. And a majority of patients are identify as Black, Hispanic, Asian, or Pacific Islander. And I will say that according to Healthy People 2030, these people are also the people that don't have access to early prenatal care as well. So oftentimes they don't know they're pregnant.
Yeah, they find out late.
They don't have access to contraception. And these, the amicus says, I quote, "The inequities continue after abortion is denied." This brings up a topic of reproductive justice. And so basically, reproductive justice was created by the Black Women's Caucus in 1994. And so this is to address the specific intersection of BIPOC. BIPOC experiences that have just been put to the wayside. And so basically, reproductive justice, I'm gonna quote this, centers women's rights within a human rights framework by emphasizing that each person's ability to live out their lives is uniquely shaped by social injustices, including lack of education, poverty, racism, sexism, transphobia, among others. I know that there's a lot of statistics going around, and I could state a number as to how much of a leap this is going to have, but like really, what does that do? Because no one gives a crap anyway.
Exactly.
Nobody cares, and that's been made clear. So I think it's our job here to bring to light how much this is going to impact women of color. Especially,
I mean, like you said, the statistics are endless, but we all know that the Black maternal death rate is abominable. And if we think that the disparities now between, fatal and just harmful, like births between white women and then people of color and the LGBTQ community, we're going to have a very dangerous next few years, which
it's just so alarming to me that our Black mortality in maternity rate continues. It just continues. Like I have never seen a decrease in my life, which, I mean, we're in our 20s, but still, like, at no point has there been a substantial decrease. And so if we're looking at the CDC, these are some of the reasons. Each one of these could be an episode in themselves, but some of the reasons: variation in quality healthcare, access, underlying chronic conditions, structural racism, and implicit bias.
I remember I was talking to one of my close friends, Jordan, who is a guest on this podcast, and he lives in a very rural part of Maine where there is a very small percentage of any person of color in that area. And he had an instance where one of his Black female patients was coming in and had undiagnosed high blood pressure. And a few of his colleagues pointed out to him in they insinuated that he was targeting her and assuming, like, why would you assume that she has like high blood pressure or chronic health issues, like just because XYZ? And it was a very like racially charged encounter. And he said, and she felt extremely vulnerable and like isolated, and she was already someone who was very nervous in seeking healthcare, and he really had to, after having a very frank talk with his colleagues, he sat her down and had a conversation with her, pretty much stating that she was in a very, like, if she continued that way for a couple of years, then the possibilities of a cardiovascular event was very high. And she said, or Jordan told her, frankly, like, you know, I see you. I care about you. I think that if healthcare providers or people in general were to ignore your skin color, that's a disservice to you. Your skin is beautiful. You are beautiful. And I am taking, like, your, like, historically and scientifically, your background and your race into account with what you guys are at risk for. And this is something that I'm using to help take care of you.
See, I love that, because the idea of the melting pot is just garbage.
Mm-hmm.
How dare you deny these people of you know, what they have gone through and what they continue to go through, and just decide that you can just throw it in a pot and get rid of that. Good for Jordan. I feel like that's something all healthcare providers can do, is provide individual
and personalized care.
Individual personalized care. Meeting people where they're at is like so important.
Exactly. That's his favorite phrase.
It's so real. Like, meeting people where they're at. If you can't make it here, how can I get to you? Or let's video conference, or you know, order your meds over the mail, or, you know, XYZ. Prenatal care comes in all different forms.
100%.
One other thing that I want to bring up is specifically for how we can work together to reduce Black maternal mortality. Okay. Some things that we can do as healthcare providers is help people recognize when something's wrong. So making urgent warning signs like recognizable. So let's do that right now. I'm going to say a few.
Yep.
Okay.
Do it.
So a severe headache, extreme swelling of hands or face, trouble breathing, heavy bleeding vaginally or vaginal discharge, overwhelming tiredness. These are symptoms that may be nothing, but also may lead to death. Yeah.
And I feel like this isn't said enough. It's not.
Right. And that's just like life-threatening things. Like what about early care, prenatal care?
That's a whole different freaking ball game.
It is. And, you know, everybody, not just healthcare providers, but everybody, you can recognize your unconscious bias.
There needs to be a course on that.
There is a certification for nurses now. It's like respectful care. It goes over LGBTQI. It goes over essentially like all areas of care that demand respect, which is everybody. But it's not about equality right now. It's about equity.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I think to come back and like reference the latter part of our topic in regards to how not only minorities, but the LGBTQI population is going to be affected by this. I have a article up by the Human Rights Campaign that gives a few very interesting statistics in regards to this population. So it says that due to structural and logistic barriers, even under Roe, abortion has not always been available for LGBTQ plus people. This leads them to be at risk for mistimed and unwanted pregnancies or to consider self-managed abortion. And they give a few statistics. Over half of lesbian women and approximately 2/3 of bisexual women who have been pregnant have ever had a mistimed pregnancy. But then it goes into the ending of Roe and its devastations and its risk for putting their safety in compromise. It shows that over 1/3 of lesbian women seeking abortion have experienced physical abuse from the person who got her pregnant, which that's like an even bigger deal to me and kind of like one of the stickier topics.
That's what I mean when I say we have to believe people's stories.
Yes.
It's the only way we can have empathy and provide care needed.
Mm-hmm.
We have to believe people.
Yeah. And that controversial tweet I referenced earlier in terms of that, like, oh, like, are you ready to take care of these women with unplanned pregnancies? Like, are you willing to take care of these traumatized women who have been raped and are forced to bring these children into the world? It literally
is already happening.
Yes. And what are you doing about it? How are you active in that?
Why is this the mark? Why is this the starting line?
Exactly. That's just terrible.
I know that you kind of transitioned to LGBTQI, but I just want to talk a little bit more specifically about Black women.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this because, like we talked about, equity over equality.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of goes back to Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about you.
Mm-hmm.
Get your fragile light ass out of here for a second.
just for a second.
Just for a second.
Take it out.
Yeah.
Let it breathe, you know?
And if that's uncomfortable to hear, good.
Yeah.
Because that's where growth happens.
And that's where you need to think about metacognition.
Think
and
about
why
your
you're
thinking.
thinking
why are you
is
upset
that way.
that I'm calling you out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway.
If the shoe fits, you know?
Oh, sorry, rant over. Black women's pregnancy-related mortality, 3.2%, 3.2 times higher than that of a white counterpart. That's before the overturn.
Oh, no.
Women in Mississippi are 3 times more likely to die pregnancy-related or maternal event than a white counterpart. Quote, the ban thus exacerbates inequities in women's health and healthcare, negatively affecting the most vulnerable Mississippians.
Is Mississippi a banned state?
Yeah, I think you were going to bring those up.
Yeah, I think I was. Let me look.
I think we're going to transition to talking about some of the trigger laws. And the reason I want to kind of go back is regardless of where the line is drawn with viability, these medical communities have come together and they have said there is an undisputed scientific, medical, and clinical consensus that 15 weeks LMP, which is last menstrual period, is months before fetal viability is even possible. Months before 15 weeks LMP.
I think everyone needs to know that before they go and try to save the group of cells in someone that's not their body. That might be the poster of my post.
Poster of the post.
So I have a few, like a list of the states that have trigger bans.
Okay, let's hear it.
And I think there's a total of 13 at the moment. Kentucky, Louisiana, South Dakota, Idaho, Tennessee, Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi, Missouri, North Dakota, Oklahoma, Utah, Wyoming.
Way too many, dude.
Way too many, dude. In each, I know there are a few like states with representatives who are trying to enact like temporary holds and pauses
I
for
think
these women. Ohio.
Yeah, Ohio is currently doing that.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, it stinks that it has to come to that in order to save these women's lives, you know? But at least, you know,
we need a revolution.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at, you know, like there has to be a fight in all of us. And not just women. We need men beside us. Hello? Men, are you there? Oh, I don't hear you at all. Where are they? Where are they?
Where are you?
Yeah. And I'm so sorry. No, I'm not sorry.
I'm not
You
sorry.
should be sorry. Are you sorry? Are you going to help? What are you going to do?
I think that's important because, like, as much as this is impacting women, this impacts everybody.
Everyone.
Baby daddies included.
Oh my God.
Y'all.
The heart of the conception. The
Jay,
bullet.
You just need to really decrease your semen intake. Okay.
All right, I'll try to measure it out a little better. My turkey baster. I'll really try. Oh my God, where do we even start with that?
I know. I've had a lot of people on my social media talking about how it's their job to fight right now because they brought children into this world and they don't want their daughters specifically to be impacted by this. But it's always, so far in my experience, it's always been the moms saying that. Mm-hmm. So, like, if you're, like, a single man,
mm-hmm.
this impacts you. But, like, if you're a father of girls,
mm-hmm.
like, and y'all not saying anything?
Yes. This is an effed up world. Like, there are messed up people who, I mean, we've seen the stories of men who prey on girls and who rape girls and impregnate girls.
Yeah, exactly. And
mm-hmm.
I just hope that all girls, anyone at all,
mm-hmm.
for any reason whatsoever, sorry, Michael Scott, I just hope that these children know an adult in their lives that has their back.
Mm-hmm.
I could say that. Like, I could speak on this forever, but
mm-hmm.
like all these children whose parents are against abortion, I hope that they know that they have resources
mm-hmm.
in any corner, including us.
When it comes to, see, on my side, when I look at my feed and I look at the people that I am like acquainted with and like online, I as well. It's been radio silent on my end.
I have had one male friend post something.
Yeah.
I've had a few male friends reach out to me specifically,
mm-hmm.
but like that's nice.
Yeah.
But and I will say it's not all about like social media.
Exactly.
And we know that, but like if anything, what are you doing in this revolution?
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to take to the bank?
And I agree with you. Not everything has to be performative.
Exactly.
But I I keep coming back to the, like, in my head as a woman, I feel the need to disclose, like, either disclose or, like, control, like, my emotions or, like, my anger.
Don't do
And,
it.
like, my, like, I feel the need to control, like, my need to feel some kind of support from, like, the men around us or something.
Is that ingrained in you? Like,
It might be.
like not to speak ill of any of the men in your life, but like, has there been an example of when you have needed extra support, and have they come through?
I feel like yes.
Yeah,
I
so
feel-
that's that's why I mean that could be very much so why you're like, I'm needing your support right now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And that's the fact that something as big as this, and like there has been no sign of that. It's not great at all. And
Yeah, Kella was talking about this the other day too, and she's like, your silence. She said something cool like, your silence is deafening, or you know, like, we hear your silence, and damn,
I don't like it. You know, and I was listening to, we briefly mentioned it on the other podcast, but there is a, I will try to find the link and link it below, but someone did an episode where it was also 2 men and 1 woman, and they were talking about how there is such a lack of male voices surrounding this topic. And they, both of the male hosts shared their experiences with infertility, with their partner's infertility, their partner's multiple miscarriages, and how, you know, it was heartbreaking that they did have to have an abortion, and how that affected their relationship, and how, you know, their lives were forever changed. And it was so...
but they had the choice.
Yes, they had the choice, exactly.
And they were able to make that choice for themselves.
Mm-hmm. And the woman that was also a host was just elaborating on how, like, refreshing it is that she didn't have to, like, pull that story out of them. That, like, in light of all this, that was one of the first things that they wanted to share, is like, this was my experience, and like, we support you and care about you, and we want you to know that we are here for you if you need us. And I was like, Jesus, where's all my guy friends like that?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, people, I'm going to officially put us on a bathroom break because I have to urinate with my body and expel my bodily waste.
Tell your ureters I said hi.
We'll be back in just a moment. So as we come to the somewhat conclusion of the episode, I know it's been heavy, but I wanted to provide some unfortunate comic relief.
Uh-oh.
I know we talked about that quote we heard from the what was her name? Let me find it. It was Carrie Ann Lisenby about controlling our intake of semen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, like counting your calories, just controlling your semen drops, whatever. I wanted to read off a few other quotes on the Republican side that are kind of a little weird. You ready? And I want to get your raw reaction. Shelby didn't know I had these pulled up, so I'm excited.
Oh, no.
All right, so I've got 3 to read to you. First one. Yesley Vega, a Virginia Republican nominee for Congress, suggested that it's harder to get pregnant from rape because there's so much going on in the body. Hold on. Here we go. She responded, so Vega was asked if it's harder for a woman to get pregnant if she's been raped. She responded, well, maybe because there's so much going on in the body. I don't know. I haven't, seen any studies. But if I'm processing what you're saying, that wouldn't surprise me. because it's not something that's happening organically. You're forcing it. The individual, the male, is doing it quickly. It's not like, so I can see why there is truth to that. It's unfortunate. Oh, I guess that makes sense, Yesley, because if you're not making sweet, passionate love, then the semen takes the miles per hour that it's thrust into your body. It's just a little slower, and it's like, let me slow down for the uterus. Those eggs, I'll reach them, There's just so much going on, more roadblocks and, detours that my sperm have to take when I'm, forcing this woman to have intercourse with me.
How disrespectful is that to survivors? Can you?
Oh my God, I know.
Someone that has been sexually assaulted, hearing that? Can you imagine?
That is, I don't know how she is running for office. That is one of the most ridiculous things that I have ever heard.
My God.
I know. Okay. Secondly, Representative Matt Gaetz falsely described abortions as unborn babies being denied due process when their skulls are being crushed.
Wow.
Oh, you take a reproductive class, Matt?
I think he's a doctor.
He said, the Constitution is clear that Americans are entitled to life and should not be deprived of it without due process of law. Every day, the unborn are denied this due process when their skulls are crushed and they are ripped from their mother's wombs, limb by limb, until their little hearts stop beating.
I feel bad for the people that actually believe that, because that sounds so brutal.
I know, doesn't it?
My God. I just want to read a little something going back to our amicus, but regarding fetal pain. And I think this is important for people that are assuming that these little children in these bellies are dying.
Poor children.
Yes. Okay, so Mississippi tries to basically use fetal pain as a distraction for the ban. There is no credible scientific evidence of fetal pain perception, pre-viability, and certainly none at 15 weeks last menstrual period.
There you go, Matt. Maybe Matt just needed to hear that.
Yeah, there is specific reasoning as to why, considering the neural circuitry. So if you want to learn more about that, read the damn article.
Yeah. Maybe we'll forward that to his office.
Actually, that would be great. Let's
do
that.
We should do that to all of the representatives
I feel like that kind of leads into taking action.
You are right.
If you, unless you have more.
Okay, I have one more. I have 1.5 more.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so these ones are like a little more on the ridiculous side, but Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton said that he is officially making June 24th an annual holiday in his office. And then lastly, Arkansas gubernatorial nominee Sarah Huckabee Sanders, quote, "We will make sure that when a kid is in the womb, they're as safe as they are in a classroom." Also, wait, one more fact. That encompasses that. What are these people on?
Pretty sure the kids these days are taking ignorance.
Yes.
Well, okay.
Not even the kids, unfortunately. These are adults that are in charge of freaking our well-being.
Janine, if you had to trade name a drug that increased your ignorance, what would you name it? Ignoramus.
Ignoramus republicanus. It sounds like a genus and species.
I think that's the generic.
Oh God.
What would you advertise it as?
Oh God. That's a good freaking question. I'd just call it like X. Oh no.
X. I got the X.
Oh, isn't that freaking terrible? Oh my God.
Those comments,
that kind of sent me.
I can't. I wish I had a more like entertaining reaction for you for your podcast, but like I'm just mortified.
It's kind of like you know, did you ever watch Family Guy?
Yeah.
You remember when they would read The Onion? And The Onion was just like ridiculous news that would never be true.
Yes.
Oh, we're living in that.
I have a meme for you.
Okay, actually, show me.
Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
There's a few actually, if you're open to it.
Okay.
There's just two.
Hit me.
The first one. What surprised, or like headlines for articles. What surprised me most about becoming a parent was that I was forced to by the government.
Oh, jeez.
And the second one. Analysts say best hope for government is for Nicolas Cage to steal the Constitution.
Steal and rewrite. Can you imagine a Constitution written by Nicolas Cage? Teddy would have a conniption. He hates Nicolas Cage.
Really? I heard his new movie that came out was actually really good.
Was it? We should freaking watch it.
I'm ready.
Oh, gosh. Oh, man. I can't even imagine, man. Actually, yes, I can, because we're living this. So, yeah, I can.
We are.
Really, nothing is up. Nothing will surprise me at this point, you know?
I know.
In the worst possible way. But also, we got to find light.
What are we going to do about it, Jay?
This is what we're going to do about it. So, I historically, in my 26 years of life, have never felt more called upon to be an active part of a movement in my life. And it is because of what we talked about earlier. Like I have and it's very close to home. And so Shelby and I were based out of Maine. We just wanted to provide a few resources for anyone listening, not only in our current state of residence, but nationwide, just to help you guys out and let you guys know that there are people out there, there are companies and organizations out there who will stand for you, who will help you in these times, and that includes us as well. So you can always send us messages, and if you need support, we're here for you. Around the Maine area, there is one of the main providers, providers for reproductive health and for abortion related health care is Maine Family Planning. That number all around Maine specifically is 207-922-3222, and it will direct you to where you need to go. What's your closest location based on where you are in Maine?
What services does Maine Family Planning offer?
Let me see. So they are a verified abortion provider, and however, you do have to do a little bit of research because different providers at each location offer abortion throughout different pregnancy stages. And
that's going to be in every state, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
like provider specific choices. So, I mean, like Spider-Man, provider specific, gestational comfortability.
I see. Yes. And I'm on the website right now. It looks like, most of the providers in Maine, they have it like their restrictions right now is that the abortion is legal until their specific viability, like we talked about. And that is usually sometime, it looks like between 24 to 26 weeks. So just keep that in mind. But Maine Family Planning and Planned Parenthood are a couple of the bigger providers if you guys are looking for those resources in Maine.
Planned Parenthood in Maine specifically is more of a New England branch, so they cover Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. They have 7 ways to help in this moment. A few of them are donation-based, so donating to Planned Parenthood themselves, donation to the Laura Fund. Laura Fund is basically financial assistance to those who cannot afford abortion, but they are in need of one. Other things there's the Action Fund through Planned Parenthood, so you can go online and get involved. You can volunteer. Planned Parenthood is huge on sharing your story. That way we can amplify and lift you up. Another great option is to amplify abortionfinder.org. This is a national website that helps people find abortion care closest to them.
That's awesome. While we were on abortionfinder.org, it also has a very, what am I trying to say? A very extensive list of national resource assistance for costs, travel, etc. A few of them being the Bridget Alliance, which is a nationwide organization that provides practical and travel support to folks who must travel long distance for abortion care later in pregnancy. Indigenous Women Rising helps fund abortions in the U.S. and Canada for Indigenous people. The National Abortion Federation, which provides info on how to access abortion across the country and potentially receive financial support. And then the last two is the NNAF, National Network of Abortion Funds, which also organizes and provides practical support across the country for abortion seekers. And then the Women's Reproductive Rights Assistance Project provides abortion funding for women across the country at certain provider locations. So that's the whole website will be listed below. You can get state-by-state guidance and really, get familiar with your resources. And even if it's not you that's needing it at that moment, maybe someone that you're close to, or someone will need help. And I think it's important because we mentioned how being a supporter or being an ally and being I was about to say apprentice. What's the word that you used earlier?
Oh, the word that Rose uses?
Yes. Accomplice.
Accomplice. She uses this mostly in supporting Black women. But yes, I see how that is applicable.
Yes. I want to be all three of that. Mostly being an accomplice to anyone who is against being pro-choice. But also, I feel like it's important to note that I experienced kind of a little bit of hesitancy with certain aspects of support in other national rallies and stuff in regards to. I had a lot of friends that attend rallies and protests, and I never felt comfortable enough to attend such things. Mostly out of just not having been to one before and not having friends or anyone to attend them with. And I do understand the sentiment that, not everyone has the resources to either donate and attend, protests and rallies and be active. Sometimes the only resource that you have to show support for women during this time is just a post that you can share, or words of affirmation and support for the women around you. And that's completely fine. I have of course, I'm not like saying that if you don't support in this way, then that means you're not supporting or you're not an ally or anything like that. But anything that you can do to educate yourself and just make it known that you're a supporter is leaps and bounds and really makes a statement and will really help in this cause and hopefully steer us in the right direction as a country and as a whole human race.
Right. And I think this is largely showing me how little this actually has to do with abortion, and how this is so much more about control of women and reproductive rights.
And how, what's the word I'm looking for? They want to push and push and push to see how far they can get into sculpting and molding their ideal worldview. Because I think, like you were saying earlier, what's next?
Right. And like you were saying earlier, it's easy to advocate for the unborn.
When you were talking about what's coming up, like they're already questioning like revoking gay marriage
and contraception. Y'all, if you're not scared, you should be.
Yes, I think everyone should be. That's why
we need to be involved.
Yes, be involved. Be supportive.
Advocate.
Be active in it.
Listen to people. Believe people.
Yes. Care about people. And just don't be a weirdo. And give people
a fucking weirdo.
just give people the right to their own freaking bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know?
Let's talk about the elephant in the womb. Jay, I have a few more things that we can do.
Okay.
Collectively.
Tell me.
So this is the American... Oh, sorry.
Big bump.
This is the American Civil Liberties Union. Every place is going to ask you for money because they're all nonprofits. But a few things you can do. You can take the pledge. There is a support pledge going around fighting for abortion rights. You can share your story. Almost every single site or nonprofit I've been on accentuates the power of storytelling.
Yes.
If we want people to understand all the different applications of abortion, we got to tell them.
Yes.
Talk to your family and friends. This is hard. Jay and I were actually talking about this earlier. How we have all been in a funk on how to approach this topic with people that think differently than you.
The people that you love that think differently than you.
That'll be on a different episode.
I think that will be. I've been pondering it briefly, and I feel like you can't control how someone else's mind works, and that includes the people that you love.
Right, and people are going to believe what they want to.
People will believe what they want to, and I feel like the only way to approach with like grace and with openness and honesty is by doing just that, approaching with openness, honesty, bring forth your feelings, lay it out on the frickin' table, and just prepare yourself for disagreements. And that's just the way of the world. And
especially when religion is involved.
Oh my God, yeah.
A whole talk.
Oh my God, politics and religion. Yeah. Just end me now.
I know, end my misery. So if you haven't heard of the Women's Health Protection Act, you need to. This is federal legislation that will protect the right to access abortion throughout the U.S. They have this really awesome line. The right to abortion is not real if only certain people can access it.
Love when you do that. That's pretty great.
They specifically work towards reproductive, economic, and racial justice. You can take action in this movement by emailing your Congress member. This is cool because on their website they actually have like an option to fill in your information, and they send a letter for you.
Oh my God, there you go. Yeah.
So you don't even necessarily have to put words.
Yeah.
Obviously you can, but like sometimes it's easier to have a collective voice, especially with facts. Like you want true facts. Like you were saying, we should send the amicus to the senators. Yes. And then there's one other thing. There's,
I like the idea of having a pre-written email, because sometimes the biggest trouble of doing that is like getting to your email account, composing a new message,
especially
and
with us
there.
like millennials who just want like what's the term?
Is it instant gratification? It's just like right there. Yeah, that makes a difference. And then being able to like paste it in there, and then maybe adding a sentence or two of like why it matters to you.
Yes.
That takes the guesswork out of it.
Right. And it can be your local government too, guys. And I think this is super important. Like Jay and I talked about this recently, how getting involved in your government, like your town or your city is not always like the go-to in our generation. But it is so important to have your voice heard. And it's kind of like stirring the pot from the inside, because those are the people that are going to take your community's needs higher.
Yeah. And we're realizing too, I was telling Teddy about it because I think President Biden made a statement saying that pretty much there's nothing he can do about the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And while I know, and while I understand that, do I understand? But like, back in learning in AP Gov and like high school, checks and balances, XYZ, and all that good shiz that, the president doesn't always have the control. And you're right. Like it starts at our local government that gets brought up to the state government, and it really is like state representatives, senators, governors who make such a huge impact on our livelihoods.
Yeah.
Get
involved,
a whole. Yeah.
Make your community's needs heard.
That's my goal for this year and next year.
I love that. Small and achievable. That's a smart goal. Measurable, realistic, time sensitive. Jay, one other thing I want to mention, and I know you guys don't know me, but this is like a large passion of mine. But sexual education in schools, y'all, if you have, I gotta make sure I'm nice. I'm being nice. Currently, sexual education is being provided in an abstinence-based model. Y'all, it's not working.
It's not.
It's not effective, and there are so many more resources and ways to be gender inclusive. Take religion out of the picture. It's just like mind-boggling how our schools can still be discriminating and just choosing not to include certain groups of people. I'm getting off on like a tangent here, but ultimately, like, if y'all want people to control their semen intake, maybe we should provide resources.
Yeah, maybe you should
them to do that.
Exactly.
Education being the very first step.
Yes, exactly. At that age, because I remember learning nothing in sex ed. And just
mitochondria is the powerhouse of
the
cell. Yeah, I just remember being like told not to wear certain things.
Oh,
and that boys will be boys.
Yep. You.
Fuck you.
That's the reform that we need. So much.
Jay, I need a beer.
Let's get beer.
Yeah,
Let's get beer and play trivia.
I love you.
I love you.
Thank you for coming on.
I can't believe that you're my friend. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so happy to know you, and thank you for advocating for uteri.
Uteri. It's my freaking pleasure. This won't be a one-time occurrence. I think later on we should have a lighthearted episode and talk about adult friendships, adult relationships, and
6 ways.
I was gonna say
shout out
fur
Kelly.
babies and something much more innocent than that, but I understand that
We're not swingers. I'm just joking.
Yeah. Contrary to popular belief, we are everyone freaking disclaimer, we are not swingers.
Just need that
Unless,
to be
you know,
said out loud.
Well, I try anything once anyways. But thank you guys for listening. We will leave a very extensive list of resources below, and if you need,
thank you for having me, Janine.
of course, everyone, if you would like Shelby back on the podcast, leave a comment. Well, it doesn't matter really because she's at the mercy of me, but I love you all.
We support you. We love you.
We support you. We love you.
Share your
and
stories.
We're there for you. Freaking peace.
Bye.